Canada is usually seen as calm, quiet, and safe, but in the 1990s, the streets of Quebec were being ripped apart by one of the deadliest biker wars in modern history. Car bombs exploded in neighborhoods, clubhouses were burnt to the ground, prison guards were murdered, and a journalist was even shot for reporting on it. This was the Quebec Biker War, a brutal conflict between the Hells Angels and the Rock Machine that lasted from 1994 to 2002, leaving over 160 people dead and turning Montreal into the center of a criminal power struggle. In the early 1990s, Quebec's criminal underworld was already tense. The Hells Angels were powerful, but they didn't have complete control. Standing in their way was the Rock Machine, a smaller but aggressive biker gang that refused to give up its territory. At the center of the Hells Angels side was Maurice "Mom" Boucher, one of the most feared outlawed bikers in Canadian history. Boucher wanted the Hells Angels to dominate Quebec's drug trade, especially in Montreal, but the Rock Machine wasn't going to step aside so quietly. The war is usually traced back to July 13, 1994, when Pierre Daoust, a member of a Hells Angels-linked club called the Death Riders, was shot and killed in Montreal. That killing helped light the fuse. From there, the violence exploded. Shootings, firebombings, arsons, and car bombs became part of the conflict. The violence would spill over into public streets, businesses, neighborhoods, and eventually the lives of innocent people. In 1995, Boucher helped create the Nomads, an elite Hells Angels chapter that wasn't tied to one specific city. Their purpose was to expand Hells Angels' power across Quebec and pressure anyone standing in their way. Then came one of the most shocking moments of the entire war. On August 9, 1995, a car bomb exploded in Montreal. The target was a drug dealer named Marc Dubé, but the explosion also hit an innocent child nearby, 11-year-old Daniel Desroches. Daniel was struck by shrapnel and later would die from his injuries. His death horrified Quebec. The biker war had already been violent, but now the public saw just how far it had gone. An innocent kid had been killed in broad daylight because of criminal war over money and territory. After Daniel's death, police created a special task force called Operation Carpio, designed to go after biker gangs and slow the violence, but even that would not stop the war. The Hells Angels and the Rock Machine kept attacking each other's members, allies, clubhouses, businesses, and drug operations. Bombings became so common that Montreal started to feel like a battlefield, and then the violence would reach the justice system. In 1997, two Quebec prison guards, Diane Levine and Pierre Rondeau, were murdered. Prosecutors later argued that Maurice Boucher ordered the killings to intimidate the justice system and send a message that even the law enforcement wasn't untouchable. Boucher was first acquitted, but after a retrial he was convicted in 2002 of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. But before this war ended, another major event would shock the public. In 2000, crime journalist Michael Auger was shot multiple times outside the offices of Le Journal de Montréal. He had been reporting heavily on biker gangs and organized crime in the area. Somehow he would survive, but the message was clear. Even journalists covering the biker war could become targets. Around the same time, the Rock Machine tried to strengthen itself by connecting with the Bandidos, another major international biker gang, but the pressure was building. Police were closing in, the Hells Angels were gaining ground, and the Rock Machine was weakening slowly. Then in March 2001, police launched Operation Springtime, a massive crackdown involving thousands of officers and more than 100 arrests connected to the Hells Angels and their associates. This operation badly damaged the Hells Angels Quebec network and helped bring the war closer to an end. By 2002, with Maurice Boucher behind bars and the Rock Machine weakened, the Quebec biker war was basically over. The Hells Angels came out as a dominant force, but the damage left behind was horrifying. By the end, around 162 people were dead, more than 180 had been injured, and Quebec had seen dozens of bombings, arsons, disappearances, and assassinations. So when people think of Canada as peaceful and quiet, the Quebec biker war is one of the darkest reminders that even there, the underworld once turned city streets into a battlefield.